Well, if we haven't arrived at page 20 in the medicine bag, time for some annotations. Here we go. That's a terrible thing. Then a terrible thing happened to Ironshell. He and several other young men were taken from their homes by soldiers and sent to a boarding school far from home. This happens in that movie Rabbit Proof Fence, right? When colonizers often look to schools to oppress the native, local, or indigenous cultures. Unfortunately, the history of anthropology is plagued by this idea, or this reality rather. He was angry and lonesome for his parents and for the young girl he had wed before he was taken away. At first, Ironshell resisted the teacher's attempts to change him, and he did not try to learn. One day it was his turn to work in the school's blacksmith shop, and as he walked into the place, he knew that his medicine had brought him there to learn and work with the white man's iron. So this is fairly complex. This is an ambiguity here, that these oppressors still lead him to a place that is meaningful. So it's one of those classic questions: why would God, or any God, whether it's the Lakota God, Christian God, whatever religion's God, why would they make that decision? Come on now, God. I'm going to put God in a question mark, and I put one of those upside down question marks too. Come on now. What do you mean? Ironshell became a blacksmith and worked at the trade when he returned to the reservation. All his life he treasured the medicine bag, and when he was old and I was a man, he gave it to me. So all his life he treasured the medicine bag. I'm going to double underline that because I feel like if I have to write about this story, I think it would be important to begin with the understanding that the medicine bag from which the title derives is a particularly important object in the book, and already we're being given specific symbolic significance that goes along with the medicine bag. When he was old and I was a man, he gave it to me. Grandpa quit talking and stared in disbelief, and I stared in disbelief as he covered his face with his hands. His shoulders shook with quiet sobs, and I looked away until he began to speak again. Right? He's looking away because he's embarrassed. I wonder if there's a bit of a gender norm here that's operating. I kept the bag until my son, your mother's father, was a man and had to leave to fight in the war across the ocean. So if it's across the ocean, it's presumably World War I or World War II. Or Vietnam. Or the Korean War. So I gave him the bag, for I believed it would protect him in battle, but he did not take it with him. He was afraid he would lose it, and he died in a faraway land. This idea of dying in a faraway land instead of home, right? Not his spiritual home either, so that there might be a restless spirit, for whom Grandpa's trying to make the world better, or to prepare this spirit to move on, or his own spirit, of course. Paragraph 70. Again, Grandpa was still, and I felt his grief around me. My son, he went on after clearing his throat, had no sons, only one daughter, your mother, so the medicine bag must be passed to you. He unbuttoned his shirt, pulled out the leather pouch, and lifted it over his head. He held it in his hand, turning it over as if memorizing how it looked. All right? Once again, treating the bag as a sacred object. In the bag, he said as he opened it and removed the two objects, is the broken shell of the iron kettle, right? There's one particular symbol. A pebble from the butte, where he did his cleanse, and a piece of sacred sage. He held the pouch upside down and fine dust drifted out. After the bag is yours, this fine dust, by the way, that's a kind of detail that's meant to really get us invested in this bag too. After the bag is yours, you must put a piece of prairie sage within and never open it again until you pass it on to your son. He replaced the pebble and piece of iron and tied the bag. I stood up, somehow knowing I should. Right? Even if you don't have explicit knowledge, there's this cultural understanding or exchange between great-grandfather and grandson. Grandpa slowly rose from the bed and stood upright in front of me, holding the bag before my face. I closed my eyes and waited for him to slip it over my head, but he spoke. "No, you needn't wear it." He placed the soft leather bag in my right hand and closed my other hand over it. "It would not be right to wear it in this time and place where no one will understand." This time and place where no one will understand. No, poor Grandpa. I wish everybody did understand and you weren't in Bellevue. But it's safe. Put it safely away until you're again on the reservation. Wear it then when you replace the sacred sage. Grandpa turned and sat again on the bed. Wearily, he leaned his head against the pillow. Oh, recycling that same adverb. Come on now, author. "Go on," he said. "I will sleep now." Page 21 will be included. "Thank you, Grandpa," I said softly and left with the bag in my hands. That night, Mom and Dad took Grandpa to the hospital. 2 weeks later, I stood alone. Grandpa died on a lonely prairie of the reservation and put the sacred sage in my medicine bag. Right? Lonely, lonesome. But it looks like he's accepted responsibility, right? Excellent.